Well, good afternoon or morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar using PeopleSoft to collect and submit passport student data. My name is Kate Springsteen, and I'm the Member Services Coordinator for the Interstate Passport program. Today we are going to be looking at how two institutions, the University of Utah and Lake Region State College in North Dakota, identify and transcript passport students and send the completion files onto the National Student Clearinghouse using the PeopleSoft Student Information System. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available at interstatepassport.wichita.edu/webinars by tomorrow, November 15th. If you have questions throughout the webinar, please submit them into the box on the GoToWebinar panel, and it will be brought to the presenter's attention. Following the webinar, I will be sending out an email with information on where to find a recording of this webinar, as well as a link to a survey, which we'd very much appreciate if you would fill out. I'm delighted to introduce you to our presenters for today's webinar, Dan Johnson, Timothy Ebner, and Andrea Ronier. Dan Johnson is the registrar at Lake Region State College in Devils Lake, North Dakota. He joined the faculty of Lake Region State College in 1968, where he has served in various positions in financial aid, admissions, student affairs, and student records, in addition to teaching mathematics. Dan is active in several professional organizations, including the North Dakota Council of Teacher of Mathematics, the North Dakota Mathematics Association of Two-Year Colleges, ND-ACRO, UM-ACRO, and ACRO. He received his BA at the University of North Dakota, his MS from Minnesota State University Moorhead, and has completed additional graduate work at Rutgers, the State University, and the University of North Dakota. Timothy Ebner has been serving as the University Registrar at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City since January of 2006. He has worked in this profession for 38 years, beginning in the fall of 1980, serving as Assistant Registrar at the Elkhorn Valley campus of Metropolitan Community College in Omaha, Nebraska. He's also served at 3 other institutions, including Quincy University in Illinois, Midland University in Nebraska, and Boise State University in Idaho. Timothy received his bachelor's degree in music education from the University of Nebraska at Kearney and his master's degree in college student personnel from the University of Nebraska at Omaha. Andrea Ronier began working for the University of Utah in July 2006. She has worked in various roles in the Registration and Records Division and was promoted to Associate Registrar, Student Systems and Technology in 2014. Andrea leads and analyzes business processes for all projects related to PeopleSoft CS portal and custom web applications for the Registrar's Office. She graduated with a BS in Management from the University of Utah and a MS in Management Information Systems from the University of Arizona. Welcome, Dan, Tim, and Andrea.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the University of Utah, we're going to start first to go through ours, and we're going to go over a brief overview and then going into the topic of how we post the Interstate Passport and then the reporting to the National Student Clearinghouse.
And by way, just as a brief overview for the University of Utah, we are the flagship institution for the state of Utah. We are nearly 33,000 students, and we have 14 colleges, 3 professional schools, which include our School of Dentistry, our School of Medicine, and our College of Law. We have 2 campuses, the main campus here in Salt Lake City, Utah, and we have an international campus in Incheon, South Korea, which we call our Utah Asia campus. And so we serve 2 campuses. We are a PeopleSoft university, so we have been on PeopleSoft since 1998. We were a beta site for the implementation of the PeopleSoft products, and we have just completed our 9.2 upgrade. Just nearly 6 weeks ago, we upgraded from 9.0 to 9.2. We are using People Tools 8.55, HCM, HR, the FS, and the portal. So that's kind of just by way of overview for the University of Utah.
Thank you, Tim. I'm going to talk about the actual passport, the posting, and now the reporting. First, talking about the native students, the students who are here at the institution who are receiving that interstate passport. When we were first tasked to do the Interstate Passport, we had to think about the timing of how we did the mass posting to make sure it worked with our other processes internally here at the University of Utah. So we do have a process where at the end of every term, if faculty do not post grades for a class, all those blank grades do get changed to an EU grade. It's one of our policies. And to change that, they have to do a report of credit. Right now, that is still paper-based. So when that process is happening, we try to give about a month after grades are posted to make sure all report of credits are being submitted. That way, when we finally do the selection of the students, we get the truest population at the end of that term, so that student doesn't necessarily have to wait to the following term to get that Interstate Passport. We do some one-offs, but we try to do the majority within that mass posting as best as possible. So that's kind of how we determined the timing of the posting. So it's done at the end of every term, fall, spring, and summer for us. How we track these students or how we put it on the record is through a student group as well as transcript text. We do a student group mainly for the reporting side of it. That way we can select the appropriate students, and I'll get more into that when I get into the reporting. And then the transcript text, so if this student does move on to another institution or transfer to another institution, if that institution is potentially not using that National Student Clearinghouse capability to see who's earned, they can see that on the transcript as well. Our degree audit coordinator compiles the list. That's how we determine who has completed the passport through an audit. And she uses PeopleSoft query to do the selection, and then through the college source product that we use through a batch process to select the students who've completed that passport, essentially our general education requirements. Once I receive that list, that's when I assign the student group, and the effective date that I indicate on that is the conferral date of the term that they've received it. And that's very important, again, when we get to the reporting part of it, but that helps us determine what term the student completed that Interstate Passport in. And then the transcript text. Currently, right now, we're working with our IT department to run a script that does a mass insert of transcript note. That is not something that PeopleSoft currently delivers. So we're working with them, but we will get a formal process where they'll give us an SQR so that way we can run it on our end. And then that's just an example of what our note looks like. And then here's just some screenshots of what that student group will look like within our system, as well as the transcript text as well. Now for the transfer students. Our admissions office is the one that receives all of our incoming transcripts for the University of Utah, and they post all transfer work currently for our students onto the student record. Currently, they are not using the National Student Clearinghouse to identify students that have earned the passport, that passport verify request. That is something that they are aware of, but they're not currently using it as of right now. They are reviewing each transcript by hand still as their current process to post transfer work. And once they do see that a transcript indicates the completion of the passport, they indicate that within the external education page under external degrees. The reason why we chose that is because of reporting to the National Student Clearinghouse. By assigning it there, we can tie that back to the institution that they received it from, the term that they completed it, and various other indicators that are required by the National Student Clearinghouse when we do submit the reporting. So it's indicated in that external degree, and I have a screenshot here of that. I have an example of when we've posted that. And what also that does is we have coding behind some of our degree codes that we indicate there that will then clear the general education requirement. So that's an automatic way that because of that code, and we've done that coding with our college source product, when that code is indicated on the record, it will then clear the gen ed requirements based off that Interstate Passport for the incoming student. Now to the reporting. So right now we are submitting the passport completion file to the National Student Clearinghouse. We worked with our IT department to create that custom SQR program, and it just has a term parameter. And as I indicated in the prior slide with the student group, we are very specific on the effective date with a conferral date. That way we can take that date and equate it or equal it to the conferral date within a specific term, and then we can get our term parameters, how we were able to do that. So we can easily pull a list of everyone that completed the Interstate Passport for summer of 2018, and then pull all of the other various requirements that National Student Clearinghouse requests and get that submitted through the completion file through their process. So that's how we do that passport completion file. For the passport academic progress tracking file, we are currently not sending that. That is still in development with us. We'll do a similar process as far as picking the population for our native students, as I talked about in the completion file. As for the transfer students, we'll be able to use that external degree code, whether it exists or does not exist, as well as then selecting all of the other data elements that National Student Clearinghouse would like to see on those students and get that submitted. So that's still in progress. We're about halfway there on that. We had to pause because of our upgrade, but we're working back on that task now that we are complete. And as far as just some numbers for our institution, spring of 2017 was the first term that we went live with the Interstate Passport, so that's why that number is rather large. But we now, as we've gone through a few semesters, can see that we're about 300 in our summers and a little over 1,000 within our spring and fall who complete the Interstate Passport. And then I would turn questions over if there was any questions that have come in before I transition.
Andrea, we have a question. You mentioned something about an EU. Could you explain what that is?
Yeah, so an EU at this institution, it's like a failing grade. We define it as an unofficial withdrawal, and it's just one of our grades at this institution. It can either, if an instructor posts it, it's where a student didn't officially withdraw. So they post an EU to indicate that the student never attended or didn't do any work in the class, they just didn't officially withdraw. But we also use it for our blank grading process. So if a faculty member did not submit grades at the end of the term, we have a policy that says that the registrar's office converts any blank grade to an EU grade. I don't know if that helps clear it up.
Yep, I think so. Thanks very much.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions before I turn it over?
Not at this point.
Okay, great. I will turn it over to Dan.
Okay, I'm Dan Johnson, the Registrar at Lake Region State, and we are one of the smaller schools using Passport. We're way on the eastern edge of Wichita. We run approximately 2,000 students, of which many of them are students enrolled at the other colleges because we have cooperative students with the other colleges in the state. We also have a large dual credit student enrollment. So when it gets right down to degree-seeking students, we have approximately between 500 and 600. Of those, about half of them are students that are enrolled in a program which leads to liberal arts degrees, which essentially means they're transfer ones. In the state, we have 3 campuses which are Passport, Lake Region, the University of North Dakota, which is in Grand Forks, which is our flagship institution, and North Dakota State College of Science, which just came aboard this last year. We are a PeopleSoft school, and we do use PeopleSoft 9.0. We're going to be implementing 9.2 this coming summer. With that, we went live with PeopleSoft in 2004, and so basically we do not use any add-ons with PeopleSoft. Everything we do with Passport is using the academic advisement module, which is delivered with PeopleSoft. The timing of our postings which would be the next slide, is we, like Utah, post them at about a month after the term is over. We run our passport audit, which is essentially a variation of the audit system built in academic advisement. Students who have completed the passport block then are entered onto the transcript using a passport completed milestone. This milestone is going to be visible on the official transcript level, which in PeopleSoft means it is also visible on the unofficial and the academic advising thing. How we determine which students are eligible is that we've used basically a variation of the academic advisement process to determine which ones met the block requirements. We had help from our system office, the business analyst there, as far as implementing it. Once we, the student records office, however, just built the block in there. And so what we do is we run the passport audit against all students who have completed at least a bare minimum of classes that to find out if they're eligible. We do this each semester. Then at the end, of course, we do post them. As far as determining which students are transfer students that come in with passports, we don't have very many because of the fact that most of our transfer students do not come from the WITSE states, at least not at present. And what we do with that is our admissions office essentially checks off if we do have the transcripts. However, the student's record office goes through and manually enters all the classes that they've taken. At the same time, notice if they do have a passport completed at the other institution, we will then enter that notation as a milestone on our transcripts. This, however, only shows up on the unofficial one, not on the official. We've also been using the clearinghouse to go through and find out if any passports were reported to the National Clearinghouse. We do that right at the same time as we do our official census reporting, which in North Dakota is the 4th week of the semester. If any of them appear, we double check and make sure by using some queries whether they have already been posted. If they haven't been posted, then we will post the fact that we do have that they do have a passport from the other institution. With that, we should go to reporting to the National Student Clearinghouse. We do go through and do all the reports that we are using for the National Student Clearinghouse. At the end of the semester, we send in our passport completion file. Essentially, the data from this is gotten from several queries that we do run against our student information system. We also take and participate in the academic progress transfer file. Currently, what we're using is various reports and queries to come up with the data. This is workable since we're such a small institution, however, not really efficient. Currently, we're also working with the University of North Dakota to come up with a more efficient method of extracting the information from our student information system so that we're not spending as much time on doing it, and also trying to make sure that we're not missing any students or making any errors. With that, I guess we would open it up if anyone has any questions. Sorry for our technical problems here.
Mm-hmm. No worries, Dan. We do not currently have any questions, so if anybody has any at this moment, you can enter your questions onto there's a question box in the GoToWebinar panel, and I can bring it to the attention of Dan, Andrea, or Tim.
Thank you so much,
yeah.
Both Tim and Andrea, and you also, Kate.
Mm-hmm. All right, seeing none, I want to thank the presenters today for your presentation and everyone who's attended as well. We hope you find these two presentations on different institutions and how they've used PeopleSoft to transcript and submit the completion files to the NSC very insightful and useful. If you have questions afterwards, you're free to email me, and I can forward them on to Dan, Tim, or Andrea. And again, I'll be sending out a survey link, which we'd very much appreciate if you'd fill out. And this webinar will be posted as well if you'd like to view it at another time. All right, thanks very much, everyone, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.